Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to see current affairs of 16th June 2021. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first topic. So before that, we are going to discuss 6 topics in this lecture. So there are 2 editorials which are left. One is regarding electoral bonds and second one it is regarding criminal procedure code. So we are going to discuss those topics in tomorrow's lecture. Okay, so we are going to see those 2 topics in tomorrow's lecture for sure. So in this lecture, we are going to see 6 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So first, let us see first article. Title says AY1 not a variant of concern yet. Center. So this article mainly talking about one important mutation in coronavirus. So you already know about what is this variant of interest and as well as variant of concern. So we studied, right? So earlier WHO came up with this naming of these variants of concern. For example, alpha variant, beta variant, delta variant and kappa variant. So here why they are called as variants of concern? Because so there is increase in transmissibility and as well as because of mutations in those virus. So they are also reducing efficacy of these vaccines also. So because of this, these different strains are all called as variants of concern. So this topic will be important regarding GS paper 2 under health. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. If you see context, it mainly says that India formally acknowledged occurrence of this AY1, which is a coronavirus variant, and this variant which is closely related to prevailing Delta variant. So if you are talking about this Delta variant, it is also called as Indian double mutant virus. So if you are talking about name, that is B16172. So if you are talking about this AY1, so it is B16172.1. Okay, so this is this AY1. So because of this, it is called as one of a prevailing Delta variant. So if you are talking about some important details, it mainly says that AY1 or B16172.1. So it is the first time identified in South Africa, and even in May it was identified in UK. So in this variant, we are seeing mutation that is seen at K417N. So why it is a cause of concern? Because there is increase in infectivity rate and as well as it also associated with this beta variant also. So if you're talking about some facts regarding this, so this article mainly says that there are about 63 genomes of AY1 or B16172.1 which mainly identified till June 7th on global repository, that is GSAID. So in this 63 genomes, there are about 14 from US and 13 identified from Japan, 6 from India and 35 identified from UK. So we are seeing there is some of a mutation that is seen at K417N, which is mainly linked to high infectivity rate. So this is just of this topic. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says CJI proposes Global Arbitration Center in Hyderabad. So this article mainly talking about this Global Arbitration Center. So in this context, you need to know what is this arbitration. Okay, arbitration center. So how this article is important? So recently in Singapore also we have this center, that is Global Arbitration Center, and now in Hyderabad, that is in Telangana states, we are also going to have this Global Arbitration Center. So this article, how it is related to UPSC? So in UPSC, especially in this polity, we are having judicial system or justice system. So this arbitration is one of alternate dispute resolution mechanism. So in that point of view, we can read this article. So this topic will be important regarding polity, which comes under GS paper 2. So now let us try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. So context mainly says that an international arbitration center in Hyderabad, that would be reality if state government, that is Telangana state government, provides infrastructural facilities. So this is mainly said by our CJI, okay, that is Ramana sir. So if you're talking about this international arbitration, so it is arbitration means arbitration which is mainly seen between individuals and as well as companies in different states usually including a provision for future disputes in contract. So in this arbitration, so it is a mainly we can say like agreement between company or individual, whoever they are fighting in different states here. So usually it mainly includes a provision for future disputes in a contract. And if you're talking about this international arbitration, so it is a one of important rules are mainly included in that. So those are mainly based on UNCITRAL arbitration rules, and as well as United Nations Convention on Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards of 1958. So we can say these two are predominant rules. And next one is New York Convention. So this New York Convention, it was drafted under United Nations and it was ratified by more than 150 countries. And this New York Convention mainly recognized, and as well as it will be very much helpful for enforcing of international arbitration agreements and as well as foreign arbitral awards. So here you have to remember here what is this New York Convention. So in prelims you can expect questions like recently New York Convention is in news, so what it is related to. So this New York Convention, which is mainly related to international arbitration agreements. So if you are talking about important features of this international arbitration, so this international arbitration which mainly allows parties to avoid local court procedures, and as well as this international arbitration which is having different rules than domestic arbitrations. So because of this own non-country specific standards of ethical conduct, so this international arbitration which also helpful because it mainly owing this non-country specific standards of ethical conduct. So because of this it will be very useful for resolving of disputes between these two parties. So this is just of this topic. And there is one topic like, so even though government gave orders here, Twitter did not come up with this redressal mechanism. So we already discussed about that topic in a very great detail. And there is also one article in today's newspaper regarding this Italian Marines case. So in this Italian Marines case here, mainly Italy gave about 10 crore rupees of compensation for this fisherman family, right? So now this case which is mainly closed in Supreme Court. So this is also one important update regarding that. And now let us see next topic. Title says FCI, that is Food Corporation of India, to be used for ethanol production. So Food Corporation of India and rice. So whatever rice which is procured by this FCI, so it is mainly used for public distribution system. So under this public distribution system, government will ensure food security. So it will provide food grains at a subsidized rates for people who are eligible under this National Food Security Act. And recently government came up with one important scheme, that is Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. So under this scheme, so people especially who are migrant people and who are poor, who are even excluded from this ration cards, that means whenever this migrant people, they do not have even ration cards, they will also get this freely provided food grains by government. Okay, mainly to ensure food security, because of this coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic, so especially people, they lost their jobs and there is no proper livelihood and economy which is mainly disrupted. So because of this, whenever there is decrease in income, so people will also decrease intake of food. So because of this, there is a one important challenge for nutrition security also. So already we are facing large burden of malnutrition in India. So because of this, we are seeing increasing levels of stunting and as well as increasing level of wasting, right? So if government is not taking any steps for providing any food security or nutrition security, further in future it need to face problem regarding this malnutrition, like increase in stunting or increase in wasting, etc. So in this condition, government came up with this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana and it started providing some free food grains. And recently it is in news because earlier government mainly said that it is going to provide this free food grains under this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana for months of May and June. And now it extended till Deepavali, that is till November. So this is some background. So now let us try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. So if you see here, so this article mainly talking about Food Corporation of India rice, and we are going to divert this rice to make ethanol. Okay. So what is the context? Here context is central government has allocated about 78,000 tons of rice, which is mainly procured for food security, and it is mainly diverted for ethanol production. So here for ethanol production, this rice will be given at a subsidized rate of rupees 20 per kg by FCI. So why rice which is procured by this FCI, which is mainly diverted to ethanol? So I will say you one reality here. So I don't know if you're going to believe this or not. So from last 3 years we are getting a good monsoons, that is more than 100% of LPA, right? So we are getting 110% or 104 or 105 from last 3 years. So because of this, whenever we are having good monsoons, so almost of you know that our Indian agriculture, which is mainly based on monsoon, that is rain-fed agriculture. So because of this good rainfall, there is a good harvest also in this kharif crop especially. So because of this, there is increase in production of food grains that are seen here. So now at present, what happened? So in most of the villages, they are getting good produce this year. And because of this, whenever they are going to even government go down or returning back, because there is lack of storage capability with government. So even with FCA, there are some lack of the tons of food grains, they are stored in go downs, and most of the food grains are mainly spoiled because of some rodents, etc. So because of this, whenever government which is taking this step, it is also beneficial, because whatever the storage or whatever the old food grains that are stored in this go downs, that can be diverted for this production of ethanol, and we can store fresh stock of this food grains in FCI. Okay, so this is the one important benefit of this move, and I think most of you people, if you are coming from agriculture background, you might be knowing about this fact. So if you see context, if you see here, central government has allocated about 78,000 tons of rice procured for food security. So this mainly diverted for ethanol production, and they will be given at a subsidized rate of rupees 20 per kg. And if you are talking about the details, it mainly says that share of rice in ethanol production, it is a very minute and as well as transitionary. So most of the production of ethanol that can be done by using maize here. So ethanol can be made from these grains, especially in this grain based ethanol we are using this maize, and rice share, it is a very low. So because of this, whenever we are increasing this rice contribution also for this ethanol production, so this is the important part of our government plan, because government which is mainly planning for doubling of distilling capacities by 2025. So this move mainly which will be very much helpful to increase in share of grain based ethanol production from current focus of molasses based production. So whenever we are talking about this ethanol, it can be produced from that is a molasses. Molasses, it is a byproduct which is mainly seen in sugar production. So from this molasses we can go for this ethanol production, and this ethanol can also be produced by these grains, okay, for example maize, rice, etc. And we can also go for ethanol production mainly by using other materials also. So important aim of this move here is mainly our Prime Minister presented a roadmap that mainly focusing on how to advance target date for achieving 20% of blending of ethanol in petrol by 5 years to 2025. So we want to achieve our target of blending of this ethanol in petrol. So whenever we are blending this ethanol with petrol, so what will be advantages? So advantages will be, we can decrease our import burden. So import burden will be somewhat decreased, because we are adding 20% of ethanol here. So ethanol that can be produced within country. So because of this, we can decrease our import of this crude oil. Okay, and it will be also helpful because it will be lessening pollutants which can be released into atmosphere. So in this way, we need to achieve this target of 20% of blending of this ethanol in petrol by 5 years, that is till 2025. So if you see some data which is given in this topic, it mainly says that from last 2 years, blending levels, it is around just 5%. And this year we are mainly thinking to jump to 8.5% of this ethanol blending. And Central mainly targeting ethanol production, that is 1500 crore liter by 2025. So out of this 1500 crore liter, so 740 crore liter they are mainly going to get from grain based distilleries, and remaining thing that is mainly come from our sugar based distilleries, that is molasses based. So here finally this article mainly says that center committed for about 3 lakh tons of rice which mainly procured by this Food Corporation of India for ethanol production. So this is a good move actually. So this is a gist of this topic, and let me know your suggestions in comment box regarding this. So now let us move on to next topic. Title says invisible tax. So this article mainly talking about inflation. So background of this topic we already discussed in yesterday's lecture. So this topic will be important regarding GS paper 3 under economy, and this topic will be important from a mains point of view. So in yesterday's lecture we studied detailedly about what is this inflation. So inflation in short, increase in price of goods and services in market. Okay, so central theme mainly says that emergent action is needed to rein in inflation as people face income losses and medical costs. So now what happened? Now we are in second wave of this global pandemic. So in this second wave what happened? So because of the surge of this number of infections or number of new cases, then we went for again imposition of lockdowns, night curfews, etc. So because of this economic activity in countries, in many states that have been altered. So because of this alteration in this economic activities, then what happened here? People mainly went for closing down of their organizations, closing down of their manufacturing units, etc. So because of this, many people, especially who are unorganized sector, again they lost their income. And on another side, what happened in this second wave of coronavirus, it is very specific because so there is increase in number of cases that are seen in rural areas. So because of this, there are also increase in medical cost for the people. So because of all these things, we can also see there is increase in inflation, especially in the fuel price that increased, and also food prices are increasing. So if you are removing this fuel prices and as well as food prices, even core inflation is also increasing. So because of this, in this context, this article mainly says that government which is mainly saving much money mainly to provide some social service schemes for people. So this author mainly says that rather than going for social service schemes, we need to address first inflation. Okay, so this is the gist of this topic, and now let us see in detail what is written in this topic. So context mainly says that pandemic second wave may have subsided today, right? So in this today's report, which mainly says that less than 70,000 cases of new infections that are identified within 24 hours. So earlier during peak, we saw more than 4 lakh of cases, new infections that are seen within 24 hours. So now because of this second wave of this coronavirus which mainly subsided, now it is time we need to focus on our economy. So we need to go for restrictions, they need to be eased. Okay, but if you see, one important concern here is inflation for month of May, which is mainly one of important problem we are facing. So if you see data, it mainly says that soaring pace of rising prices regarding retail prices and as well as wholesale prices, that is evident. So regarding this retail price, it hit about a 6 months high, that is 6.3%, and regarding this wholesale, it is hit about 25 years record, okay, of 13%. So wholesale inflation that is seen about 13%, and retail inflation that is about 6.3%. So if you are talking about inflation target, it is 2 to 6%, that is 4 plus or minus 2, right? So here retail inflation mainly increased to more than this inflation target. So why there is inflation? Because of a rising in prices of fuel and as well as rising in prices of food. For example, if you are talking about pulses, eggs and as well as some edible oils, so there is increase in price that is evident. And fuel and light inflation that hit about 11.6%. And if you are talking about prices of this petrol, in many states it crossed already 100 rupees per liter. And in price of the diesel also crossed this century mark in Rajasthan especially. So if you are talking about fuel prices that are increasing a lot, so here whenever inflation is increasing, here government can take some steps and as well as RBI can take some steps. So RBI can take some steps to decrease money supply in market such that it will control inflation. Okay, but if you see here, already people do not have money in their hands. So how can RBI will go for decreasing in money supply? So already RBI came up with this monetary policy, that is accommodatory stance here. So there is no further easing of this interest rate that can be expected from RBI side now. So we need to look at this government need to take some steps mainly to control this inflation. Okay. So here, if you are talking about challenges, now in our economy we are facing many challenges like job loss and as well as income loss and as well as high medical cost. So in this context, government which is mainly saving money to spend for welfare schemes and as well as to provide vaccines. So to provide vaccines and welfare scheme, it is a well and good, but no welfare scheme that can offset it disproportionately by adverse impact on the poor. So but whenever any government scheme which is come up by government, for example any welfare scheme or anything, but it is not good for actually poor people, because you are already facing many problems like loss of job, loss of income, etc., and there is also increasing medical cost. So in this way we need to take some urgent step. So this is gist of this topic. And now let us move on to the next topic. Title says bracing for a threat. So this article mainly talking about emerging variants of this coronavirus, and this topic will be important regarding health, which comes under GS paper 2. So background of this article we discussed in first article, that is AY1. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that now there are a number of variants of this coronavirus are emerging day by day. So we are having UK variant, we are having Indian double mutant virus, South African, Brazilian variant, right? So now it is a global concerns regarding this emerging of this Delta variant, that is AY1. So if you're talking about details of this AY1, that is data, 5 Indian leading labs, they submitted the global initiative on sharing all influenza data, that is GISAID. It mainly submitted data. And next one is even UK's Public Health England also said that there are about 16 genomics in its repository, and out of this 63, 35 from UK and 6 are from India itself. And here this variant AY1, that is also called as B161261721. So these are mutations that are seen mainly at this K417N. So what is the concern here is infectivity rate is very much high, and it is also very much known to reduce vaccine potency also, that is decreasing of vaccine efficacy. And some studies also found that it is also associated with some resistant, mainly patients who are taking this monoclonal antibodies. So in this monoclonal antibody treatment, so they are mainly giving a cocktail, that is mixture of Cadcerivab and as well as Imdevimab. So here because of this mutation mainly, so we can also see some resistance to this antibody cocktail also. So now let us talk about what are these mutations. Mutations means we can say whenever there is variation that is seen in genetic material, that is called as a mutation. So coronavirus are mainly marked by convergent evolution. They are evolving day by day, right? So we are seeing different kinds of variants that are coming into existence. So whenever virus which is spreading from one person to another person, it is mainly taking some changes actually. So this changes is called as a mutations. Okay, some defining mutations that emerge in different strains. So now whenever they are getting some mutations, and now they become very much strong here, they become one of more common subsequent strains of this coronavirus. So if you're talking about what is advantage of these mutations for this virus, so these mutations are very much beneficial for virus, not for humans. Okay, so they will help this virus to infect human cells more effectively. So because of this, we can see whenever there is emergence of this new variants, that will also leads to increasing rate of infectivity also. And several countries including India, for example, they have some infrastructure and resources to track threatening of mutations. So this knowledge that will be very much helpful to improve vaccines, and as well as that will be helpful mainly to enable researchers to perform quick tweaks also. So if you're talking especially regarding India, in India we have chosen to restrict genome sequencing studies mainly to 10 government labs, but we are not including any private labs, though they are having capability and as well as expertise. So in this context, when we want to focus on this emergence of this new variants, so we need to increase our capability, and we need also go for government and public partnership, the government and private partnership, and as well as we need expertise in this field. So this is just of this topic, and I hope it is clear. So now let us see next topic. Before saying that, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. So if you want to clear UPSC 2022, we came up with one excellent, highly beneficial as well as highly economical course, that is current affairs package along with mains answer writing practice. So how this course will be useful? So one important thing you need to remember here is, before entering into examination hall, you need to know at least 1.5 years current affairs for sure. And this is right time to join this course to cover this 1.5 years current affairs in a comprehensive manner. And why you need to focus on this current affairs? Because in prelims or mains and even interview, so you can get questions regarding this current affairs. So you need to master this current affairs mainly to clear this UPSC. And if you're talking about this mains answer writing practice, many students who are especially beginners, or we can say who are especially freshers, they ignore this mains answer writing practice. So they might be thinking like, after completing this NCERTs, we are going to start that. After completing some basic standards, we are going to start that. But you will be having inertia and you never start this answer writing practice. So you need to have a push, okay, to move forward. So if you join this course, we will give you that push to write these answers, and in this course we are mainly focusing on how to improve your answer writing skills. And next one is, if you join this course, we also conduct prelims test on every Sunday, and we also provide you video solutions part. So in this way, this course which is designed as per demand of UPSC. So finally, I want to say one thing: please don't take this course as a choice. Try to join this course as soon as possible and achieve your dream of clearing UPSC. For further details of this course, the link which is given in description box, so please visit that once. And if you want to talk to me directly, you can call to this number 8074765513. Okay, now let's come back and let us see next topic. Title says embracing cryptocurrency. So this cryptocurrency which is seen highly in news. So on this topic already you got a number of mains questions as well as prelims questions from this topic. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So this topic will be important from GS paper 3 under economy, and this cryptocurrency which will be useful for both prelims and as well as mains. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you are talking about this cryptocurrency, it is a virtual currency which mainly is secured by cryptography. And this cryptocurrency, it is mainly designed to work as a medium of exchange, so which can be also used as a medium of exchange. And there is some individual ownership records are stored mainly in computerized database. So this is about some introduction regarding this cryptocurrency. And now let us see why this cryptocurrency it is in use. So El Salvador became the first country in the world to adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender. So because of this is in news. So because of this, whenever this El Salvador, which became first country in the world to adopt this Bitcoin as a legal tender, so it is also raising some global trend of cryptocurrencies and their risk. So now let us talk about what is significance. So why we need to use. So if you're talking about significance or importance of this Bitcoins or virtual currency or cryptocurrency, so first one is it's mainly helpful for checking of corruption. So I will give you example. So whenever government which is coming up with any scheme, for example, let us take one hypothetical example of rupees 10,000 will be given per month for a family. So what happened when under this central government there will be state government. So under the state government we are having local government. So under this local government also some people will be hired to transfer money, for example. So out of this 10,000 only 5,000 will be reached to that family at end. But whenever we are using this direct benefit transfer or this cryptocurrency, So it mainly runs on peer-to-peer network. So because of this, there is no leakage of money in between. So because of this, we can decrease this corruption also. And next one is a time effective. So it can be helpful mainly to save money and as well as the time here, because it is mainly through online mode and there will be no that much, there will be less transaction fee, and as well as it is almost instant. And next one is it is also cost effective, because when we are going for intermediaries like any payment gateways, for example we are using Razorpay, they will cut about 2% of money. And if you're talking about other things like there are many banks and as well as credit cards, they draw about 3% of total global economic output. So because of this, whenever we are using this blockchain technology, we can decrease that transaction cost also. And if you're talking about one interesting topic, that is cryptocurrencies in India. So in 2018, RBI issued a circular which is mainly preventing all banks from dealing with cryptocurrencies. Okay, in 2020, Supreme Court declared that it is unconstitutional. And later on, recently, our government announced to pass one bill, to introduce one bill, that is Cryptocurrency and Registration of Official Digital Currency Bill 2021. So this bill mainly aiming to create a sovereign digital currency, and simultaneously it will ban all private cryptocurrencies. Okay. So this Cryptocurrency and Registration of Official Digital Currency Bill 2021, which mainly helpful to create sovereign digital currency. So if you're talking about what will be issues of ban, so whenever we are telling about this ban, so what will be some issues, because every coin has both the sides. That means everything will have positives and as well as negatives. So what are issues? So we are going to discuss two issues. So whenever we are going for this blanket ban of this cryptocurrencies, so mainly we want to ban these cryptocurrencies through this bill, that is Cryptocurrency Regulation of Official Digital Currency Bill 2021. So which mainly seeks to prohibit all private cryptocurrencies in India. But one issue here is, so we need to categorize these cryptocurrencies into whether public or government, okay, public or private, but it is inaccurate. So we can't go for categorizing of these cryptocurrencies. And next one is brain drain. So whenever we are going for this ban of these cryptocurrencies, which mainly resulted in exodus of both talent and as well as business in India. And it may also lead to deprivation of technological development in country, and also it will be also leads to unproductive effort that may create some parallel economy also. So whenever it is creating parallel economy, it will also lead to encouraging of illegitimate use. So in this context, what can be done? So first one is we need to go for proper regulation. That means whenever we are having a proper law or act, then that will be helping for government to guide. And next one is we need to come up with clarity on this cryptocurrency definition. So anything, if you want to deal with, first we need to know what is it exactly. So whenever you are having a proper definition, then we can go for proper guiding. And next one is we need some strong KYC norms, that is know your customer norms. And we need to ensure transparency, and this transparency that can be ensured by proper record keeping, proper inspections and independent audits, and investor grievance redressal, and we can go for alternate dispute resolution and information availability, and as well as consumer protections. So these are some things which can be done mainly to increase transparency in our governance. So this is just of this topic, and in tomorrow's lecture we are going to discuss another two articles or two editorials I left in this lecture because of some time constraints. I left these two topics like electoral bonds, and next one is criminal procedure code. So in tomorrow lecture for sure I am going to discuss those topics. Okay, so by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll this current affairs package. Thank you so much.